the honorable members of Allentown City Council and the residents of this great city of Allentown. My name is David Nathan Melman, and I respectfully submit my nomination for mayor of the city of Allentown. I am 34 years old. I'm a lifelong resident of the Lehigh Valley. I grew up actually just across the border in Southgate Township on 24th Street. For the past 9 years, I owned a twin house in the West End. I attended Muhlenberg College, at which time I earned degrees in political science and also in environmental science. The only time that I've ever actually been away from the city of Allentown was my 3 years spent at law school in Delaware, where I attended Widener Law. I graduated in 2008, and after returning to the city, I call home and will, almost certainly until the end of my life. I began my own small law firm. It's located on 6th and Walnut Street, and I built that from the ground up as a small businessman here in the city. In the practice of law, I've been specializing in criminal defense work and also family law. I do PFAs, custody, divorce work. And in my practice of law, I spend every day, most of the time in the Court of Common Pleas here in Lehigh County, helping the residents of Allentown in the worst of their problems. I zealously advocate for all of my clients. Over the years now, I haven't counted hundreds, if not over 1,000 clients in the last 9 years. Every single one of my clients, I represent to the absolute best of my ability. And the people that I help are one of your questions has to do with who the city, who the residents of the city are. I see them every single day. There are people that struggle with drug abuse, broken families, crime, every problem that can be the worst of your problems for the people that come to my office on a daily basis. And those are the people that I've advocated for. If given the opportunity to be mayor, I could expand that advocacy to all the residents of Allentown. And I can tell this council that I have the utmost sincerity in my caring of this city. I have a vested interest in myself. I'm fourth generation Allentown. My parents were wonderful enough to be here for me today. They attended Allen High School back in the 1960s. I have a house in the West End and my office here, and I will be here for the rest of my life. The city matters more to me than anything else. A few years back, I ran for Allentown City Council, and when I did so, I ran against some of the issues at the time were water privatization and the Delta thermal incinerator, which the mayor wanted to put in. I was not afraid to speak up because I thought those things were wrong. And I publicly spoke out against what I thought was bad in water privatization, and also against the thermal incinerator, which I thought would have been another blight to a lot of the neighborhoods here in the city, depending on where they had placed it. I was never afraid to speak my mind of the things that I thought were right. What I think this city needs more than anything right now is a restoration of basic trust and transparency that has been lost. And I'd like to speak to the residents of Allentown when I say that let me actually digress. I believe that I'm the only candidate here today that's taken an oath not only to the Constitution of the United States, but to the state of Pennsylvania, and is bound by a professional code of ethics in my practice of law. The code of ethics listed in the Allentown Home Charter is one that I'm intimately familiar with, the one that I abide by in my practice. There's nothing more serious than representing your clients ethically. No commingling of funds. No breach of accountability, no breach of confidentiality, all of the things that are critical to the position of mayor, the things that have been lost in this city over the last 12 years. The code of ethics, which I'm familiar with, I will take to the city of Allentown. And honesty, integrity are the most fundamental things that I think the public needs to see right now to be restored. And I need the public to know that as far as my #1 priority. As far as your questions, I could speak endlessly, as a lot of lawyers can, about each of them. But to be a little brief, to speak briefly about, say, the issue of public safety is one that I see all the time. When I'm in court, I deal with the district attorney's office. I deal with all of the judges, the police on a regular basis. When it comes to public safety, what I've learned in my 9 years of practicing criminal law is that the vast majority of criminal activity stems from drug use. Allentown has a rampant drug problem. And some of the things that I would be interested in seeing more of are treatment availability to people. Subsidized or more easily accessible treatment for people with serious drug addictions which seems to be, in my experience, the root of most crime. I worked actively on a daily basis with members of the Allentown Police Force, and the police have indicated to me so many times that if we can more effectively deal with the drug problem in Allentown, the crime rate could be drastically reduced. So public safety is something that I have a very unique, I believe, qualification in dealing with, because that's what I see every day when I'm in court with the judges. As far as raising money for the city, so the first thing that Allentown needs, which hasn't happened, is should have happened many, many years ago. We need a true accounting of the city, which hasn't been done forever. We need to see where the money's going, where waste is coming from. This needs to be a forensic accounting. We need someone to actually get this done, and it hasn't been done. We need to know where the money is being wasted, where it's being lost, how it's being spent. The mayor has lied and hidden all this from, and I understand council's frustration and its fact pattern that it laid out. The city has no idea where the money's been going anymore, so we need to find out. When it comes to raising money for the city, there is only so much money, and the public needs to understand. I think this has been hidden from the public in a lot of ways. They don't know where the money is and what's available to them. So there needs to be an honest accounting to be able to tell people in the city of Allentown where the money has gone and what we can use it to. To raise money, we either cut spending, and to do that, we take a line-by-line look with every single department head and every leader of the city and every division to see where the money is being spent and how we can save money on things, on projects or things that are waste or aren't helping the public good. And if needed, raising taxes is always, public hates to hear that, but is always necessarily on the table. But it would have to be done in a very specific way so as not to hurt the people that can least afford it. And I believe that those things can be done if a close look is taken at where the money is gone. I think that what I can offer this city is an advocacy of the people that I've gotten to genuinely and very sincerely know every single day, to not only meet their needs, but to hear them. If I were selected as mayor, the very first thing I would do is spend as much time as it could possibly take to sit down with every department head and every strategic planner and then get caught up, first of all, in the things that I'm not familiar with, because I'd be coming off this from my law practice, to get up to speed on everything that we need to deal with, and to start figuring out where we are, how we can go forward. And we need to make our 5-year plan. No one's talked about that yet. Had I been on city council back when I had ran, as an attorney, I would have considered filing an injunction against the mayor at the time to force him to supply council with a 5-year plan that he had failed to do, as is required by the Home Rule Charter. But these things need to be addressed immediately. The public needs to see a restoration. They need to see transparency. I understand council's frustration with the lack of communication that's happened with the mayor. I would meet with council constantly, and we would work as a team to figure out what the best interests of the people of the city are. What can we do as a team to help fix some of these problems? How can we come together? There's always going to be divisions, but I would work with council. I would not be an enemy of council. Quite the opposite. I ran to be a member of Allentown City Council. I mean, I can speak forever, but I would be ethical. I sincerely care about the people of the city. I would have no conflicts of interest. Unlike some other candidates, I'm not a developer. I have zero conflict in this city whatsoever. The only business I have is my sole proprietorship by my law office. I believe that I would probably be unable to represent clients in court in criminal cases, obviously, because the Allentown Police Force would be on the other side. That would be an inherent conflict, and I would have to meet with the judges in the Court of Common Pleas to have attorneys be appointed to take over some of my cases. Other than that, I am beholden to no one. I'm conflict-free. I've lived here all of my life. I will live here for the rest of my life. I care about the city very, very deeply, and I would love to zealously advocate for the city residents, just as I've done for all of my clients every single day. I wish you could meet some of my clients in the ways that I've been able to help them with all the problems that are the worst problems that you could possibly want to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Melman. We're going to open it up to the left side of council first this time because the right side took the whole time last year. We'll start with Mr. Robinson.
The right side have the right questions.
Well, Mr. Melman, I'm going to start asking questions so we don't eat up your time trying to figure out right, left, or in the center.
Okay.
So I seem to be beating a dead horse, basically, and my questions are following a similar line. But economic development, and more importantly, community development is very important to me. We have a large Hispanic population in this city. We have a large African-American population in this city. And we also have a large population of people that come from other nations and ethnic backgrounds as well. What would you do to make sure that every citizen, regardless of economic status, regardless of cultural status, regardless of their ability to speak the English language, has free and open access to the opportunities of economic development and community development? To create a small business, to start a community center, a community group, what would you do?
All right. The first thing I would do is start town hall meetings in each neighborhood. Find out the needs and the requirements of each neighborhood citizens. Have them speak openly about what they need in their town, what kind of money can come to them to help them, what kind of advocacy are they lacking, and to hear from the people. Regular town halls by neighborhood-specific areas to find out what they want and what they need in their communities rather than guessing at it. All right, secondly, depending on the specific neighborhoods that we're discussing, would be to very actively seek out leaders in those communities. Let me actually go back. As far as the NIS money here, I think that should be talked about a little bit. As was mentioned earlier, a lot of the NIS money has only gone to downtown Allentown and only to a very specific neighborhood. I think we need to seriously look at how to take that to South Side and East Side and West End Allentown so that they can also benefit from the revitalization that's already happened. We would probably have to look at cuts in order to maybe give out grants, look at tax cuts to small businessmen to give them incentives to grow in neighborhoods that aren't growing as fast as they otherwise should be. Look to see if there's state money that can come into neighborhoods other than NIS potentially, so that they could benefit in the way that downtown Allentown has as well. And for the areas that honestly I don't know because I haven't been the leader of the city of Allentown at this point, would be to sit down with all of the strategic planners and get the brightest ideas in how we can go neighborhood to neighborhood to revitalize. And I know that your area is in the committee for revitalization. I would sit down with you and we would discuss all the ideas and come up with the best ones. And I would do my best to implement them, if that helps answer your question.
Thank you, Mr. Melman, it does, and thank you for applying.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir, Mr. Norman, question for you. Say you were 34 years old, and if I add up the school years and all that thing, it seems like this job is the only job you've had?
I mean, my career as an attorney has been the last 9 years. That's
Okay,
right.
so what, are you a parent?
I'm not, no.
Okay, so what other life experiences have you had that would qualify you to
Well, I
represent?
served on the board of directors for 3 years for the Jewish Community Center. I have a pilot's license, which I acquired over at downtown Queen City Airport. I have a part-time hobby as the trivia host at a pub in Allentown called Jack Callahan's Ale House. But my practice of law, as far as life experience, has been the majority of my life. I had 4 years of college, 3 years of law school. But during those 9 years, I'm in the trenches every single day. I'm in court, bench trials, jury trials, and these are serious problems that I've gotten hardened over. And I'll be the first to admit, after I graduated college, I was in a bubble. It was a rude awakening when I began to practice law, because I was very quickly immersed into the most serious matters, whether it be felony criminal charges or divorces, ruining families, custody battles. And I think I've gained a huge amount of life experience over that. Plus, my family's been wonderful in teaching me common sense, how they've lived here. They both went to Allen back in the late 60s, early 70s. So I think that my career speaks for itself in terms of life experience.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Melman, a quick question. You mentioned about the drug issue
Yes.
in the city. How can you effectively deal with the drug issue in the city?
All right. better and more easy access to treatment. A lot of my clients attend places like Confront. Ones who have insurance can go to places like White Deer Run or Pyramid. I know that District Attorney Morgan Ellie in Northampton County has just started a new program of how to community reach in order to have welfare checks, more easy access to be able to call the police without fear of an arrest for a drug charge if you need help. We need to start making easier and better access to treatment. I think that with the judges, a drug court would probably be one of the best things that they can do. I know that's not under the provision of the city of Allentown. When it comes to crime in the city, again, it's almost all drug related. And I have many, many clients who are heroin addicts, and resort to all other areas of criminal activity in order to pay for their addictions. We need to make treatment more readily available to people. I think we need better after-school programs to keep kids off the streets from getting involved in drugs and gangs. That critical hour from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. Subsidized, more available community groups, treatment centers, outreach locations, and I think community policing, having police officers be more readily available and easily accessible by members of the community that they can trust to get them help when they need it. And there's a lot of answers to this, but treatment is the key. Rather than punishing it, we need to go in terms of rehabilitation and treatment. And in order to do that, we need to give them more access to better health care, better ability to access the needs to deal with their addictions that they have. I think, does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
I mean, I think it'll be critical. Not only it'll make Allentown safer, it'll make it a more pleasant place to be, and it'll fix a lot of lives.
Here, over this side.
Just a quick one, if I may. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Melman, thank you for applying. Question I have, you mentioned something, you touched on it. You are a member of the Jewish Community Center.
That's correct. Yeah,
volunteering in what capacity there?
I served on the board of directors for 3 years back in, this is 2012. Just dealing with the, a standard board of directors for a nonprofit organization.
Okay, and I know you, I think I ran at the same time you did for city council.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, we ran simultaneously.
Yes. Have you done anything else since that time to try to get on any boards or commissions for the city? To get more
I've devoted all my time to my clients.
your clients?
I work all the, yeah, I mean, I'm in court every day, almost all day long.
Okay.
I've devoted essentially all of my time to the best representation I give to my clients.
All right, thank you.
But I'd like the city council to know that should I be appointed as mayor, first of all, I do have the full intention of running in 2019 if I were to get the appointment. And secondly, I would find all my cases would get covered. This would be all of my time, the same way that I'm advocating for my clients now, would be for the city of Allentown.
All right, so you're running for what in 2019?
I would run for mayor if I were appointed, is what I'm, I know you're looking for someone who wouldn't just look at this as an interim position. Should I be selected, I would have the full intent at that point to run for re-election as mayor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's gonna ding. All right, Mr. Melman, thank you again, and you have now 2 minutes to sum up to City Council why it should be you.
To close, I believe that I represent the qualities that the people of the city are looking for in their next mayor. I'm honest, I have integrity, I'm sincere, I'm legitimate about my caring of this city. I abide, as it is now, to a very full ethical code, which I'm ultimately familiar, and I think as an attorney and mayor simultaneously, would help immensely in avoiding any of the heinous dysfunctionality and ethical violations that have happened over the past few years. I have an ultimate vested interest in the city, and I have spent so much time in my advocacy for the select clients that I have now. I think I have about 60 open clients currently that I'm caring for. I would love more than anything to be able to expand that to the 118,000 people of this city. I'm familiar with most of my clients are Spanish. I know the breakdown is roughly, as of 2010, it was 40% Spanish. I have gotten a very good understanding of the needs of the Spanish community as they represent almost half the population of the city of Allentown. Allentown is the fastest growing city in Pennsylvania. I think that the long-term needs of this city can be accomplished through someone who's young and energetic, but also has 9 years of experience in advocacy as I did for people. I can give you my promise that I would spend all of my time in this capacity as mayor, meeting with each and every one of you and all the city leaders, the department heads of every single EMS, fire, police, waste management, every single organization for how we can cut costs, how we can do things more efficiently, how we can restore the honesty and the trust that should be here, that should have been here for the last 12 years, sadly has been lost. And I sincerely ask you to consider me highly for the position of mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mellon.
Thank you.